Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I welcome all of you back to another Christian Quickie reading. Now, just like I did with the Spanish article, I wanted to do this specific article in two ways. By first doing it in English, and then by doing it in Japanese. So, this should be a little bit more, I would say, I think there's maybe a little bit more to talk about with this, because like I mentioned with the Spanish article, it was very interesting to see Chris was sort of a bit more open to adopting certain things. I don't necessarily know if there was like a logic behind it, or whether or not it was just something that Chris enjoyed when he was in school, while he was at school. So let's however, we'll go through the aspects of Japanophilia, as they've referred to this as, and we'll get straight to it. I appreciate the portions Japan culture that promotes cleanliness in the home, showing gratitude and those good and kind gestures. Chris admiring traits we know he does not have. Japanophilia is the appreciation and love of Japanese culture, people, history, and media. Since his youth, Chris has been fond of Japanese media and culture. Sonic, Pokemon, PlayStation, and anime are all Japanese creations that Chris enjoys. While Japanophilia is a well-established concept existing in Western society since the latter half of the 19th century, with the opening of Japan and becoming amplified in scope and popularity since the 1960s, Chris's love for Japan is on a whole different level. Chris has been known to prefer Japanese media over American alternatives. PS3 over the Xbox, Sonic over the Adventures of the American Rabbit, though one can't blame Chris for leaving that behind. He has stated that a lot of media is better in Japanese. Not always, but some of them are. He also ranked Japan the second on his list of countries he wants to visit, since going to Buckingham Palace to claim his crown is more important to him. Wait, when did he say that? Did I miss something? Where on earth did he say that? Oh, okay, I suppose. In reality, Chris knows next to nothing about Japan. A good chunk of his knowledge comes from anime and parodies of anime. Never a good start, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, let's just go through this. The people. Chris seems to have a favourable opinion of Japanese people. He didn't exclude Japanese women from his love quest, and as said he would date and go deeper with Japanese women. Despite this, his tendency to not care about people other than himself arises here. He has regularly confused Chinese and Japanese people, and has also created a stereotypical Asian character. Please don't tell me this is who I think it is. If I just way over to here. Oh, okay, Punchy. Okay, well, fair enough. I thought this was going to be naming the other infamous Asian character that, well, it's more the trolls created her, but whatever. Again, God, for God's sake, I mean, outside of the fact that historically I know that the Chinese and the Japanese hate each other like poison. But I will say this again, is that actually, no, I'm going to try, I'll keep my business out of this as much as I can. Culture. Chris claims to be a huge fan of Japanese culture. When asked what he liked about their culture, he said he liked their technology, ninjas, kung fu, which is actually a Chinese martial art, and the peaceful way of life outside of violence. What that last part means is anyone's guess. If I was to make a guess, I would have taken the idea as that Chris might possibly be under the belief that a large proportion of Japanese people worship Buddhism. I think that's possibly what he was trying to get at, but I don't even know what the main the main chosen faith for most Japanese people is. I don't know if it's specifically Buddhism or it might be Christianity, but it has to be said. It's just, I think that's what he was trying to get at, but I'm just like splitting hairs and just trying to like see him halfway, I guess. Chris also spends $31.50 per month on his premium edition of Tokyo Treat Box, which gets him some snacks and trinkets all the way from Japan. Till date, Chris has spent over $1,000 on this since at least October 2017. And bear in mind, ladies and gentlemen, this was like Chris was still paying for this whilst he was in the middle of a financial crisis. And I say was because there was never any evidence suggesting that Chris cancelled his subscription whilst he was flogging his useless junk on Twitch, begging people to buy it because the rent was due tomorrow. The language. Chris has shown interest in the Japanese language. He said if he could learn any language instantly, he would pick Japanese. Currently, like all things Chris knows, his actual knowledge of Japanese is quite shallow. He uses popular weeaboo words such as arigato, kawaii, sayonara, and senpai. A troll in Mailbag 3 compared Chris to a gay man in Japanese, but he was oblivious to it. Aibu, I think, is the word for gay, I believe, in Japanese. It might not be, so I think it is, actually, to be honest. In his videos for Miyamoto, he pronounces the Japanese names incorrectly. He also uses the honorific san incorrectly. In November 2017, he was conned by the Idea Guys to make a drawing of himself and Sailor Moon where they speak in Japanese. The dialogue translated into memes and statements mocking Chris and not what Chris thought it meant. Oh yeah, that's right. Doesn't this mean that Chris basically saying he's gay and he sucks dicks? I think that's what he was tricked into saying. I think we'll discuss this in greater detail when we get to talk about the Idea Guys. Well, all the trolls, I should say. The media, games, the raison d'être of Chris's life. Chris has been playing video games since he was a child. He has played many video games for Japan, such as Sonic, many first-party Nintendo titles such as Animal Crossing and the Pokemon series. But Chris has also played many games made in Europe and the US, such as Little Big Planet, Mon Nation Racers, and Guitar Hero, so his tastes in video games are much more varied. His tastes in consoles, however, are much different. He was a huge Sony fanboy, buying anything they put out, literally. He also showed tolerance to the Wii. His hate for the Xbox, the only major non-Japanese console, mostly stemmed from Chris's brand loyalty, more so than hatred for it not being Japanese. He may have chosen the PlayStation as it was Japanese, but hated the Xbox because it was a rival to the PlayStation and not because it wasn't Japanese. The reason he didn't show resentment to the Wii could be because it was considered to be a competition to the PS3 and he is a large Nintendo fan. Television. Chris, being a huge connoisseur of TV shows and movies, has stated his deep interest in anime multiple times. He watches anime with Japanese audio and English subtitles. I can't watch things while I'm also trying to read things. Well, it's the sort of thing I thought Chris was going to be, but no, surprisingly because for some reason people don't like doing that. They don't like things with subtitles, but it's like, I don't understand those people. And enjoys Japanese animation over American animation, as he considers the anime stories and art style to be superior to their American counterparts. He also likes the fact that censorship is more lenient in Japan, due to which some minor cuss words are allowed in TVY rated shows, among other things. His interest in anime peaked after he met Megan, to the point where he started incorporating anime-esque art styles into his comics. He continues to use the same art style to this date, although with minor changes. Many tropes he uses in the comics are also directly lifted from series such as Excel Saga, Dragon Ball, and Sailor Moon. Chris also finds many of the Japanese theme songs to be superior. Some give or take. Most of his favourite shows and movies are all Japanese, such as Sailor Moon, Samurai Pizza Cats, Excel Saga, Sonic X, Transformers, and of course the Pokemon movies. Conventions. Chris went to Anime Mid-Atlantic in 2004 and 2005, and was very happy to receive cheap plastic trash all the way from Japan. He later attended OmegaCon in 2015 and 16. He didn't do anything at these places other than buying food and trinkets and talking to weebs. Is Chris a weeaboo? No. A weeaboo is a Western person who is obsessed with Japanese culture, often regarding it as superior to all other cultures. Yeah, that doesn't really fit Chris, to be honest. Though Chris does have some qualities that he shares with actual weebs, he doesn't consider Japan to be the best. He merely enjoys certain things of Japan more than the ones created locally. And that is true, because, strangely enough, it's... How do you go around the idea about... How do you go around the idea of trying to suggest... Because there are plenty of things about Japan that are not... Chris would not like. For example, something about obese people. It's illegal to be obese in Japan. I'm assuming the only exceptions to the rule are those who probably want to take up sumo wrestling. Or there's got to be some catch to it when it comes to sumo wrestling, I suppose. Then, of course, there's the idea that actually things are super expensive in Japan. Well, I suppose, maybe super expensive is not like the right word, but I think the way that, again, there are certain like very specific customary things that Japanese people don't necessarily like. I think it's something about people who openly use like mobile phones on buses is not like is not considered the proper thing to do. I don't know where I've heard that, but I don't know. Maybe I need to stock up on exactly the sort of things about the culture as well. Because, again, if I'm going to go into this with an entirely translated video, then there are certain things that I just want to pick up anyway. Also because I just felt curious about learning about them anyway, since it's going to make this entire experience feel a little bit more authentic. And also whether or not people from Japan, what they think about Chris. Which, considering what most people like from the UK and America think of Chris already, what anybody else from around the world will think might be past imagining. And with all that being said and done, I hope all of you guys have enjoyed this reading of Chris being a weeaboo, and I cannot wait to see all of you guys again in the next video. Take care, and bye-bye for now.